Step aside, Bye Bye Man and the Babadook, because there's a new boogeyman in town, and it's John Wick. Hello, Fanatics! I'm Dylan Phillips, and this is the Film Fanatic Review bringing you John Wick Chapter 2 with Keanu Reeves, Riccardo Scamarcio, and Ian McShane. First, I'll tell you my initial thoughts and what the movie is about. Then I'll move on to some spoiler-free likes and dislikes. I'll finish up with some spoiler-heavy thoughts on this film, and our final word. Overall, this movie is a great popcorn flick, one that helps enhance the lore of its predecessor. John Wick Chapter 2 is about the continuing story of John Wick, after his revenge mission takes a darker, more violent turn. I'm purposely keeping away from spoilers even in the description of this film because I think going into it blind makes it so much better. For what I liked about this film, there was quite a lot. For starters, most action sequels tend to digress from what the original did, but John Wick 2 not only stays on par, but it actually helps set the bar even higher. Keeping away from spoilers, I will say that the cast is superb. Keanu Reeves plays a great John Wick and shows that this is the type of role that he's exactly meant to play. And we got some great villains in Riccardo Scamarcio and Common. On top of it, we got the Matrix reunion with Lawrence Fishburne in this movie, and Ian McShane reprises his role from the original, which is pretty damn good as well. This film has great cinematography and a killer soundtrack, but again what steals the show is its action set pieces and choreography. This film is an action lover's idea of perfection. The gun fu in this movie is incredibly thrilling, giving us a lot of intense fight sequences. When it all comes together, you have gun fu, the modern mobster, and classic western blended together, and I feel like these three elements put together make the great modern crime thrillers that we see today. As for what I disliked, there was only really one thing, and it was Ruby Rose's character, and I'll explain that more in the spoiler section because I don't really want to give away much of the plot. And that's where I'll end my spoiler-free thoughts on this film. If you want to hear our final words or rating of this film, pause now and click the link in the description, because now it's time for spoilers. First off, I'd like to say that I absolutely love the world that John Wick resides in. It gives you this modern, full-scale, underground criminal organization with very traditional values, and it felt very reminiscent of The Godfather, but brought into the modern age. John Wick brought us a great gun-fu action revenge tale. However, Chapter 2 dove deeper into the lore and explored more of the world around him, and I feel like that's what you need in a sequel like this. Some reviewers have been complaining about the fact that the organization seems a little bit unrealistic in terms of its size. However, when I go to a movie like this, I'm not looking for absolute realism. To be quite frank, when I go to this movie, I'm expecting to see just how many people John Wick can kill before the credits roll. It's just a bonus that the filmmakers were actually able to make such a really cool world for him to reside in, rather than making it somewhere mundane. I've also heard some complaints about John Wick's motivation in this film, and how it's not as impactful as the first film. I disagree. I just think that they're different types of motivation, but they're just as impactful. In the first film, he's hell-bent on revenge for the people who stole his car and murdered the dog that his dead wife gave him. Whereas in the second film, he's forced out of retirement because of a blood oath. However, it's a little bit deeper than that, so here's how. In Chapter 2, John Wick is called upon by the man who he swore a blood oath to help him retire from his profession, most likely to spend time with his wife. But now that his wife's dead, the man's there to collect, and John Wick says no. Well, the man doesn't like that answer, and so he ends up blowing up his house. Now, this dives a little bit deeper into the reasons behind John Wick's motivation for this movie. A lot of people look at it and go, oh, he was forced into it because of a blood oath. And yes, that is slightly true, but also, if you look into the deeper meaning of it, there's something there, and it's very emotional. The fact is that this house is his last physical tie to his dead wife, and all of their belongings are there. He's constantly looking at pictures, he's looking at her jewelry, and all that stuff disappears once the guy blows up the house. And so it adds more to the revenge story. He wants to get revenge because everything he had, every ounce of materialistic possession he had to remember his wife by, is now gone. So he has to get rid of the guy that caused that. Anyways, there's a lot there, so I'm just gonna stop it there, but basically I think that it's just as impactful as the first movie. I just don't think that it's the same type of, because you're looking at it as the first movie, you actually see a murder that he's revenging, whereas in this one, it's not a murder, it's the murder of materialistic possessions, and so in this one, he's just distraught because now he's lost everything. Now onto Ruby Rose's character. I did not find her menacing at all. She took me completely out of the action sequences with her. I just don't think that she was right for this role. However, I found Common to be a great villain in this movie. He reminded me a lot of Clive Owen and Carl Urban from the Bourne trilogy. And I just have to talk about these 3 scenes that I absolutely love from this movie. The first one was in the Rome catacombs where he's fighting with all the people in the dark, and he takes his shotgun and props it up against this guy's stomach and then loads it and shoots it into the guy. Like, that scene was just so cool. And then you have the scene in the subway station where he's fighting the guys with the pencil and he ends up taking the pencil and jabbing it into the guy's ear. That was so gory yet so cool. It reminded me a lot of Bourne and Transporter. And then the third one was the final scene in the Modern Art Museum where they were going through the funhouse of the mirrors. It reminded me a lot of The Man with the Golden Gun. So, with the thoughts heard, here's my final word. John Wick Chapter 2 is an action-packed, thrilling crime story that dives deeper into the character of John Wick and the world he resides in. Supported by a great cast and amazing choreography, John Wick is the character Keanu Reeves was born to play. Honestly, I hadn't seen the first John Wick until about 12 hours before I saw Chapter 2, and by the end of it, I was already wishing that I could see Chapter 3. It was that good. This action series is probably the best since The Raid, and it's very reminiscent of Jason Statham's The Transporter series and Clive Owen's Shoot 'em Up. This was probably one of the greatest movie experiences that I've had so far this year, so I'm going to give John Wick Chapter 2 an 8.5. Thanks everybody for watching our review. Are you planning on seeing John Wick Chapter 2, or if you've already seen it, do you have something to add? Did you like this film better than the 2014 hit? And where do you think they'll take John Wick in future films? Let us know in the comments below. I'm Dylan Phillips, and this has been the Film Fanatic Review. If you like this video and you want to see more, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Check out our latest Fanatic 5 video where we discuss the top movie Batmans. Don't forget to follow us on our social media. We post new videos every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. Until next time, Fanatics, keep it real.